Let me tell you something. There comes a moment when life stops feeling like a life and starts feeling like a battlefield. The air gets heavier, the noise gets louder. Opinions, demands, fake smiles, hidden judgments. They swirl around you like vultures circling a dying animal. And, every day, it feels like the world is tightening its grip around your thoughts, like invisible hands trying to choke the life out of your peace. You feel it in your chest, the chaos pressing in, the constant pull of other people's storms, dragging you down into waters you didn't even choose to swim in. It feels endless, like a current that will never let go. Until one day, it does. Or rather, you make it. It's the day when something inside you snaps, not in anger, but in clarity. The noise that once owned you begins to fade. The chaos loses its teeth. You stop flinching at every insult, every distraction, every emotion that others hurl at you like stones. You rip yourself out of the raging current, clawing your way to the shore, standing tall while the tide keeps pulling everyone else under. And in that moment, everything changes. Your mind sharpens. The world slows down. People's masks start to crack in front of your eyes. Their games, their fear, their desperate need for control. You see them clearly for what they are. And something far more dangerous begins to awaken inside you. Not the urge to control others, but the understanding that no one will ever control you again. That is when you become dangerously smart. Not because you've read every book, not because you know every trick, but because you finally stop playing the game they're all addicted to. You don't get pulled by strings anymore. You cut them. You don't react like a puppet to every little jab or whisper. You move with precision, like a hunter in the shadows. Calm, calculated, untouchable. That's when people start to notice. They can't figure you out. They can't shake you. And that terrifies them because control is the only language they know, and you've stopped speaking it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. People read that and nod, maybe share it on Instagram, then forget it 5 minutes later while they drown in the same chaos. But when you don't just read it, when you breathe it, live it, bleed it into your soul, the shift is like nothing you've ever felt. The insults, they bounce off like raindrops on steel. The failures, they become fuel, not chains. The storms people try to pull you into, they dissolve at the edge of your fortress. Because now, your strength doesn't come from screaming at the world to change. It comes from building an iron citadel in your mind, one no chaos can breach. And that's what this video is about. 5 brutal understandings. 5 truths so sharp they cut through the illusions and sink into your core. They will forge your mind into something people can't predict, can't shake, and can't break. By the time we're done, they won't know how to read you anymore. They won't know how to move you. And deep down, they'll start to fear something they'll never admit. They never had power over you at all. Before we dive deeper, lock in, like this video, share it, subscribe to this channel, because this isn't just something to hear. This is something to feel in your bones. And I mean it when I say, don't skip a second, because every piece connects to the next. And by the end, you'll walk away with a mind so unshakable, it will feel like a weapon. Drop this in the comments below. My mind is my weapon. Say it, own it. Because by the time we're done, it will be true. Now, let's get into it. Number 1. See the world for what it is, not what you wish it to be. The most dangerous intelligence doesn't come from reading books or gathering facts. It begins with something far more brutal, a kind of vision that cuts through illusions like a blade through flesh. Brutal clarity. Most people never touch it. They walk through life wearing rose-colored chains, convincing themselves that the people draining their soul actually care about them, that the job sucking the life out of them is worth it because it keeps the lights on, that the lies they whisper to themselves are somehow going to protect them from the storm. They cling to fantasies because reality is too raw, too unfiltered, too merciless. And so they suffer, endlessly, quietly, sometimes for decades, not because life is cruel, but because they refuse to open their eyes and see it for what it really is. Marcus Aurelius forced himself to stare into this abyss every single day. You must look at things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Those words weren't cold. They were a shield. They were survival. When you finally strip away the sugar-coated lies and stand naked in the light of truth, everything changes. You stop begging people to respect you, because now you see who they actually are. The liars, the pretenders, the users hiding behind warm smiles and soft words. You stop hoping the world will be kind, because you know kindness isn't promised, only preparation is. You start noticing how people's actions scream louder than any sweet word they could ever breathe into your ear. At first, this transformation cuts deep. It feels like tearing your skin off, because everywhere you look, the truth burns. You'll realize how many people never loved you, only loved what they could take from you. You'll realize how many decisions you made were built on dreams, not reality. It feels like being ripped apart from the inside. But if you don't run, if you let that fire consume the lies, something extraordinary happens. The pain hardens into a strange, cold calm, a confidence that can't be faked. You start walking through the world like a predator instead of prey, no longer shocked when people betray you, no longer crippled when plans collapse. Because now you see, and once you see, you become untouchable. While everyone else is still chasing shadows, still clinging to fantasies, still hoping reality will bend to their dreams, you're already 3 steps ahead, grounded, aware, moving with the precision of a strategist, not the desperation of a dreamer. The world doesn't break people like that. It fears them. Number 2, master the gap between emotion and action. Most people believe intelligence is measured by what they know, by the piles of facts stacked in their minds. But real intelligence, the kind that makes a person untouchable, has nothing to do with information. It's about control. It's about how little you let your emotions pull your strings like some reckless puppet. Anger, fear, jealousy, desire. These are the chains that keep most people predictable, weak, and easy to manipulate. Watch closely, and you'll see it everywhere. A single insult, and someone erupts like a volcano, spilling rage all over the place, destroying everything around them, including themselves. One moment of jealousy, and someone throws away years of trust just to prove a point that never mattered. They become slaves, shackled to their impulses, dragged around by feelings they can't command. And the world preys on people like that. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They taught one truth that burns through centuries. We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. It isn't the insult, the betrayal, the chaos that destroys you. It's how quickly you hand your soul over to the emotion it sparks. The fire isn't the problem. It's the way you throw yourself into the flames before you've even seen where they're coming from. The gap between the spark and your reaction, that tiny, almost invisible space, is where dangerous intelligence is born. That gap is where you stop being a slave and start becoming something else entirely. When you master that gap, you don't become cold or lifeless. You become precise. You can let anger rip through you like a storm, but it doesn't drown you. It clears the sky so you can see your target. You can stand inches from chaos while everyone else is losing their minds and calmly decide your next move. You stop playing in other people's games because now you're the one writing the rules. This isn't suppression, it's transformation. Because when you own that gap, your emotions stop owning you. Anger turns into strategy. Fear sharpens into awareness. Hurt carves itself into wisdom. That single pause, that breath, that moment where you don't give in to the first violent wave, becomes the place where your power lives. And once you learn to live there, to breathe there, to strike from there, you separate yourself from the impulsive, the reckless, the easily broken. You stop reacting like prey. You start moving like a force the world can't bend. Number 3. Detach from the noise. Own your solitude. Silence isn't just empty space. It's a savage battlefield where every lie you've ever told yourself explodes in your face. It's the moment when all the noise falls away and you're left staring at the unfiltered wreckage of your own mind. The heart races, the shadows creep, and the demons you've been running from for years come roaring out to claim their due. Most can't stand to face this. They drown it in distractions, screens, conversations, anything to escape the raw truth screaming inside. But you don't run, you don't blink. You walk straight into that silence, bare-knuckled and unafraid, because that's where the war is won or lost. Bravery isn't blood or battlefields. It's the cold steel in your veins when you confront yourself, without armor, without excuses, without mercy. Seneca whispered this truth across centuries. He who is brave is free. And freedom isn't found in noise or company. It's carved out in solitude, where the mind sharpens like a weapon forged in fire. The world's masks fall off here, even your own. No illusions, no comforting delusions. What's left is raw, bleeding, real. This is where you stop hiding behind the lies the world fed you since birth and start owning what's actually inside. When you claim this solitude, something fierce awakens. The hollow chatter of fake friends, the poisonous pull of shallow validation, it all falls away. You move through the world with a quiet storm simmering beneath your skin, a calm so unsettling it unsettles others. While they clutch their distractions like lifelines, terrified to be left alone with their truth, you have harnessed the silence. Solitude is no longer a void, but a weapon, a throne, a kingdom where you reign. In this stillness, clarity doesn't just whisper, it roars. Plans sharpen like blades. Wounds once raw begin to seal, leaving scars that burn with the memory of survival. The chaos inside your head settles into a ruthless calm. The world contracts, noise fades into nothing, and what once overwhelmed you becomes small, quiet, a landscape you command with ruthless precision. Number 4. Turn pain into precision. Pain isn't just a moment. It's a merciless sculptor, relentless and unforgiving. It doesn't knock politely. It crashes in like a hurricane that tears down everything you thought was safe, tearing you open, exposing raw nerves you didn't even know existed. Most run. They bury it under distractions, drown it in noise, anesthetize it with anything that dulls the sharp edges. But pain doesn't vanish. It waits in the shadows, patient, stalking your soul, ready to consume you from the inside out or ignite a fire so fierce it burns away the weak and leaves behind a blade forged in agony. This agony isn't some tragic accident. It's the crucible where warriors are born, where the weak crumble into dust and the relentless rise. The Stoics, the masters of mental warfare, understood this brutal truth. Epictetus didn't offer sympathy, he delivered a verdict. Difficulties show what men are. Every sleepless night spent wrestling demons, every betrayal that sliced through your trust like a knife, every failure that felt like the world collapsing. These are not just scars. They are the blueprints for a mind sharpened beyond the reach of ordinary pain. But here's the raw edge. The strong don't just carry their scars, they weaponize them. They refuse to let history cage them. Instead, they turn those wounds into maps, each one a brutal lesson carved deep. Every failure a cold calculation, every betrayal a brutal test of who deserves a place in their war zone. You have to kill the question, why me? It's poison that lulls you into victimhood. Replace it with the deadly question, what can this make me? That question shifts the entire battlefield. Suddenly, pain loses its power to paralyze. It becomes the fuel, the blood pounding in your veins that sharpens your instincts, fuels your ruthlessness, and steels your resolve. You start to see the chaos not as destruction, but as a battlefield to be mastered. You begin to move with a precision others can't touch, because their minds are still tangled in fear and doubt. They can't predict your moves because they've never been forged in the fires you've endured, never stared down the abyss with teeth clenched tight and come out standing. Calm doesn't come from comfort. Calm is the cold, hard silence that lives in the eye of your personal storm. The storm you survived when most would have shattered and disappeared into nothingness. It's a ruthless peace born not from ease, but from enduring pain so savage it would have broken everything else. And that peace, it's your weapon. It cuts through distraction, doubt, and weakness like a razor. It's the terrifying stillness before the strike, the moment when everyone else flinches and you move. Pain doesn't own you anymore. You own it. You've taken the chaos, the suffering, and the betrayal, and you've transformed them into a machine that hunts with deadly precision. This isn't just survival. This is evolution at the edge of despair, where the broken become unbreakable, where pain isn't a sentence but a relentless mentor, demanding more, sharpening every nerve, every thought, every move, until you become something no one can stop. Pain is the fire. You are the sword. And when you step into the world forged by your own suffering, you don't just walk. You cut through it, leaving no doubt who owns the battlefield. Number 5. Learn when to stay silent and let others reveal themselves. The world is loud. Noise blares from every corner, voices vying to be heard, opinions hurled like weapons, egos puffed up to fill empty spaces. In this chaos, most people are desperate to talk, to argue, to prove something, anything, because silence feels like surrender, like weakness. But here's the brutal truth the dangerous mind knows. Silence is the deadliest power you can wield. Not the silence of ignorance or fear, but the silence that watches with cold precision, that waits patiently like a predator sizing up its prey. When you stop filling the room with meaningless noise, when you stop scrambling to explain yourself or defend your position, you strip away the masks others wear, forcing their true colors to spill out in the cracks of the quiet. People can't help themselves. They reveal their intentions faster than they even realize. But most are too busy running their mouths to catch the clues, the flicker in their eyes when they lie, the subtle cruelty they show to those who can't benefit them, the way their words shift when they think no one's paying attention. This is where the power of silence becomes a weapon, not a weapon to manipulate, but a weapon to see clearly, to cut through the fog of deceit and fake smiles. Marcus Aurelius nailed this when he said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." It's a cold, ruthless wisdom. When you stop reacting, stop oversharing every thought, and stop trying to win every battle with words, you become untouchable. You don't need to scream louder than the fools. You just watch. You wait. You let their true selves crawl out into the light, all on their own. Silence terrifies the weak because it feels like vulnerability. But the wise, they see silence as leverage, a weapon sharper than any blade. When you don't rush to fill every pause, you create a vacuum that unsettles others. They panic, they stumble, they confess secrets they would have buried deep if only you had kept talking. They overshare, they crack, their lies slip through their lips like poison dripping from a broken vial. And you absorb it all, the lies, the truths, the betrayals, quietly, without a flinch. You gather the fragments of their broken facades piece by piece, building a map of who they really are. And when the time comes, when the moment demands it, you strike. Not with noise or chaos, but with ruthless, surgical precision. You act not from reaction, but from mastery, because you've learned the power of silence. It's not empty, it's full of secrets, full of truths, full of power waiting to be unleashed. When others talk themselves into a corner, you don't shout to rescue them. You watch as they fall, and you move. This is the moment when these 5 truths stop being just words on a page or echoes in your head. This is the moment they become your blood, your bones, your way of life. Not some fragile idea, but a relentless force driving every breath, every move, every decision. The moment you live by this code, you shatter the chains that keep most trapped in a world of noise and chaos. You stop being dragged into storms, not because the storms cease, but because you become the eye, calm, unbreakable, moving with a precision forged in fire and raw, unyielding clarity. When you embody this, people start noticing. They see the shadow in your eyes, the steel behind your calm. They realize you're no longer predictable, no longer a puppet for their schemes or emotional chaos. You become an enigma, a force impossible to shake, impossible to control. You don't just survive, you dominate with a mind so sharp, so cold, it cuts through deception, distraction, and drama like a blade through silk. That's what makes you dangerously smart. Not just clever, but lethal in your silence, ruthless in your restraint, unstoppable in your focus. If this struck a chord deep in your soul, don't just nod and move on. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Because the world will always be a screaming storm, but your mind can rise above it, louder, fiercer, sharper than anything trying to drown it out. Build that mind like a fortress. Protect it with everything you've got. Wield it like the weapon it was born to be.